In the world of everything science, we hope to educate you on what's right and what's wrong. It's easy to be swayed by the various opinions we see on Facebook and Twitter. It's really important to not only be aware, but also have an accurate perception of things. On this episode of Mythbusters, we will be tackling the ever-growing movement of genetically modified crops, also known as GMCs, and asking ourselves, are GMCs really leading to a decrease in the monarch butterfly population? Before we get into the actual myth busting, let's take a second to talk about what GMCs actually are. Genetic modification in general is the insertion of DNA into an organism to change the genetic makeup of an organism and alter its phenotype. I mean, if we can use cool scientific techniques to make things better, why not? GMCs specifically modify the seed of a crop in order to produce a phenotypical variation within the crop. Now you might be thinking, what will modifying a plant do? All organisms depend on plants and crops to survive. Since crops are so essential to us, we are constantly striving to make them better. And by better, we mean more resilient to negative extremities, like diseases, for example. So now, you must be thinking, okay, so what's the problem with this? This is a good thing, right? Let's get to the issue. Bacillus thuringiensis. This is a naturally forming bacteria which is found in soil. It acts as an insecticide because when larvae consume it, it begins to degrade their gut lining, resulting in death over time. This particular bacteria, also known as Bt, is harmful to monarch butterflies, which are larvae in themselves. Increased consumption concentration of Bt would result in larvae death. Monarch butterflies are important for pollination of many flowers and plants and are very important for our food chain and ecosystem balance, which makes them very important. But how does this relate to GMCs in any way, when we just said that it was a naturally forming bacteria? Well, there are some GMCs that carry Bt in order to reduce chemical pesticide usage. The link between GMCs and the downfall of monarch butterflies was made in a study completed at Cornell University in 1999. This particular study wanted to test the effects of Bt pollen on monarch butterfly larvae. Since butterflies generally require a particular plant called the milkweed plant for reproduction, and larvae also consume the plant for development, scientists dusted the milkweed plant with Bt-infused pollen and tested the larvae for growth, survival, and leaf consumption. What they subsequently found was a decrease in survival rate and a decrease in consumption of leaf by the larvae that ingested the pollen that contained Bt. The interpretation of the study from readers was that the Bt pollen resulted in a decreased survival rate of the larvae, thus resulting in a decreased population of monarch butterflies. But this is, in fact, incorrect. Now let's get to myth busting. There are a couple of drawbacks to the study. 1. In a natural field, there is no such concentrated exposure to the Bt pollen, and the lab setting had a much higher concentration of Bt, thereby making its effects much more deleterious. And 2. The larvae only consume the milkweed plants that contain the Bt-infused pollen. In a natural setting, there would be a random assortment of the pollen, and not all of the butterflies would be exposed to the Bt pollen at every single plant. To further counter the study done at Cornell, another large peer-reviewed study was conducted between American states and the Canadian government and concluded that GMCs did not pose a risk to monarch butterflies. There are some GMCs which do carry Bt, and ongoing and constant consumption of the bacteria would result in death. However, in the natural environment, monarch butterfly larvae would not be exposed to such high concentrations of Bt due to a natural spread of the pollen, yielding no real risk to the butterfly population from GMCs. In conclusion, GMCs that allow for pollen to be infused with Bt do not pose an active threat to the monarch butterfly population.